The last diplomat, the morning sun cast golden light across the vast wheat fields of Harmony Prime, painting the landscape in warm hues that reminded Ambassador Elena Rodriguez of her childhood home in Argentina. She stood on the observation deck of the colony's central hub, watching farmers tend to crops that would feed 3 neighboring star systems. Children ran between the research domes, their laughter mixing with the gentle hum of atmospheric processors. This was what humanity had built among the stars, not conquest, but cooperation. Elena adjusted her diplomatic uniform and checked her chronometer. In 6 hours, she would board the transport that would take her to the Galactic Assembly Station for what might be the most important negotiation in human history. At 45, she had spent 20 years building bridges between Earth and the various alien species that dominated galactic politics. Every treaty, every trade agreement, every peaceful resolution had been a step toward humanity's acceptance in the cosmic community. Captain Marcus Chin approached from behind, his boots clicking against the polished floor. The colony's defense coordinator was a practical man who had served in Earth's peacekeeping forces before accepting this quiet posting. His weathered face showed the strain of recent months. Ambassador, the security briefing is ready. Though I still think we should postpone this mission. Elena turned to face him, noting the concern in his dark eyes. Marcus, we've discussed this. The hegemony has agreed to these talks. If we can secure full trade rights and resource access, human colonies across this sector will prosper for generations. That's what worries me, Marcus replied, his voice low. The hegemony controls trade routes for 5-star systems. They've never shared that power willingly. Why start now? Elena had wondered the same thing, but hope had always been humanity's greatest strength and sometimes its greatest weakness. The hegemony, an alliance of 5 alien species led by the militaristic Vorthak, the calculating Zalani merchants, the ancient Kethmore scholars, the industrial Braxon, and the mysterious energy beings called the Nexari, had dominated this region of space for 3 centuries. Their sudden invitation for comprehensive trade negotiations had surprised everyone, including Earth's diplomatic corps, the Doctor. Sarah Kim emerged from the research facility, her tablet displaying the latest agricultural yields. At 32, she was Harmony Prime's lead scientist and had spent the last 5 years developing crops that could thrive in alien soil compositions. Her work had made Harmony Prime a model for peaceful human expansion. Elena, I've prepared the agricultural data for your presentation. Our food production techniques could revolutionize farming on resource-poor worlds throughout hegemony space. Elena smiled at her friend's enthusiasm. Sarah represented everything beautiful about humanity's approach to the stars, curiosity, generosity, and the desire to lift others up. The hegemony will see the mutual benefits. We offer knowledge and resources they need. They provide access to trade networks we've been excluded from. Everyone wins. As the 3 humans discussed the upcoming negotiations, none of them noticed the subtle energy readings detected by the colony's outer sensors. Deep space monitoring stations had recorded unusual ship movements near the edge of the system, but the readings were dismissed as routine patrol activity. The hegemony had always maintained a military presence in the region. The afternoon brought Elena's final briefing with the colony's leadership council. Representatives from agriculture, research, manufacturing, and education gathered in the council chamber to discuss their hopes for the negotiations. Harmony Prime was home to 400,000 humans, and each department had contributed to the remarkable success of the colony. Our medical research division has developed treatments for 3 diseases that affect Vorthak physiology, reported Dr. James Wilson, the colony's chief medical officer. We're offering this freely as a gesture of goodwill. The manufacturing sector has designs for more efficient atmospheric processors, added Chief Engineer Priya Patel, technologies that could transform marginal worlds into garden paradises. Elena felt pride swell in her chest as she listened to report after report of human innovation and generosity. Humanity had always approached the galaxy with open hands and open hearts. They had been the first species to offer aid without expecting payment, to share technology without demanding exclusive rights, to propose cooperation instead of domination. As evening approached, Elena stood once more on the observation deck. The twin moons of Harmony Prime rose above the horizon, and the lights of the colony twinkled below like earthbound stars. Children still played in the gardens between residential towers there, parents discussing tomorrow's work over dinner. This was the future humanity was building, peaceful, prosperous, and harmonious. Marcus joined her again, but this time his expression was different. Worried. Elena, I've been reviewing the security data. The hegemony fleet positions have changed. They've moved ships closer to the outer system perimeter. Standard security for important negotiations, Elena replied, but something in Marcus's tone made her turn to look at him fully. No, this is different. These aren't escort ships or ceremonial guards. These are battle formations, heavy cruisers, missile platforms, and something our sensors can't identify but registers as massive. Marcus handed her a data pad showing the tactical display. Elena, I think we need to cancel your departure and request immediate clarification from the hegemony. Elena studied the readouts, her diplomatic training warring with the growing unease in her stomach. The ship positions did look aggressive, but perhaps the hegemony was simply taking security seriously. Marcus, if we show distrust now, it could undermine 20 years of careful relationship building. One wrong move, one misinterpreted gesture, and we could lose this opportunity forever. As they spoke, Dr. Kim rushed onto the observation deck, her face pale, with urgency. Elena, Marcus, you need to see this. Our deep space communication array just intercepted fragments of hegemony military communications. The translation matrix is still processing, but key phrases keep appearing: final solution, human problem, and clean sweep. The three humans stared at each other in growing horror as the implications became clear. Elena's mind raced through possibilities, searching for alternative explanations, but the evidence was building toward one terrible conclusion. They never intended to negotiate, Marcus said quietly. This was always a trap. Elena activated her personal communicator and sent an emergency message to Earth's diplomatic corps, Harmony Prime to Earth Command. Suspect hegemony negotiations are cover for hostile action. Request immediate verification of hegemony intentions and possible evacuation protocols. The response came back within minutes, but it wasn't from Earth Command. It was from the hegemony flagship, broadcast on all frequencies so the entire colony could hear it. Humans of Harmony Prime, the translated voice of High Chancellor Vextar of the Vorthax spoke with cold formality. Your species has spread across our territory like a plague. You offer gifts to hide your true nature, the desire to replace us as the dominant power in this region. Your soft words and peaceful gestures have deceived many, but we see through your deception. Elena's blood turned to ice as the message continued. For the stability of galactic civilization, the Hegemony Council has voted unanimously for the containment protocol. Humanity will be restricted to your home system. All human colonies beyond Earth's solar system will be relocated. The euphemism chilled Elena more than any direct threat could have. She activated the colony's emergency communication system and broadcast on all human frequencies. All colonies, all ships, all stations. This is Ambassador Rodriguez with Priority Alpha warning. The hegemony is moving against all human settlements. This is not a drill. Implement emergency protocols immediately. The first orbital strike hit the agricultural sector at exactly 2147 local time. The energy beam from the hegemony dreadnought carved through the atmosphere like a sword of light, vaporizing 10 square kilometers of farmland in an instant. The children who had been playing in the gardens were among the first to die. Elena watched in horror from the central hub as more beams lanced down from orbit. The research facility where Dr. Kim had worked for 5 years disappeared in a flash of superheated plasma. The residential towers where families had been eating dinner became pillars of fire. The manufacturing plants that had produced gifts for alien worlds were reduced to slag and ash. Marcus grabbed Elena's arm, pulling her toward the emergency bunkers beneath the central hub. Ambassador, we have to move now. The bunkers can protect us from orbital bombardment. But Elena stood frozen, watching her life's work burn. 20 years of careful diplomacy, of building trust, of proving that humanity could be a force for peace and cooperation in the galaxy. All of it dying in flames because the hegemony had decided that human compassion was actually human deception. The communication array was still functional, protected by its deep underground installation. Elena broke free from Marcus's grip and ran to the communication center. If she was going to die, she would ensure her final message reached Earth. She activated the emergency quantum communication link and looked directly into the camera. Behind her, through the transparent walls of the central hub, the colony burned. The screams of 400,000 humans dying echoed through the emergency speakers. Earth Command, this is Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, Harmony Prime. The hegemony has rejected all diplomatic solutions. They are conducting orbital bombardment of civilian targets. Estimated casualties. Her voice broke as another section of the colony was vaporized. Estimated casualties exceed 300,000 and climbing. Another orbital strike hit, close enough to shake the central hub. Emergency lights flickered, and the smell of smoke began filtering through the ventilation system. Elena steadied herself and continued her message, her voice gaining strength as anger replaced grief. Earth, we tried your way. We offered friendship, cooperation, and peace. We gave them our knowledge, our resources, our trust, and they answered with genocide. The final orbital strike was aimed directly at the central hub. Elena saw the brilliant light approaching through the dome above her and knew she had seconds left. Earth, she said, her voice now completely calm, completely certain. We tried your way. Now try ours. The communication ended as the central hub was vaporized, taking Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, Captain Marcus Chun, and the last defenders of Harmony Prime with Itidai and the silence that followed. The hegemony fleet began methodical destruction of every human structure on the planet. They left no survivors, no witnesses, no evidence of the thriving colony that had existed just hours before. But Elena's final message had reached Earth, and Earth was listening. Within 6 hours of the Harmony Prime massacre, every human diplomat was recalled from every alien world. Trade negotiations ceased. Cultural exchanges ended. Scientific collaboration stopped. The humans who had spent decades building relationships with alien species received identical orders, returned to human space immediately. The galaxy noticed Earth's sudden silence, but most assumed it was grief or fear. The hegemony congratulated itself on solving the human problem efficiently and began preparing to divide humanity's former territory among its member species. They had no idea that Earth's silence wasn't retreat, that IT was preparation. The silent preparation 18 months had passed since Harmony Prime burned, and the galaxy had grown used to Earth's silence. The hegemony controlled trade routes that had once been shared with humans, and their member species prospered from the expanded territory. Most alien civilizations assumed that humanity had accepted its place as a minor isolated species confined to its home system. They were wrong. Deep within the asteroid fields of the Kuiper Belt, beyond the reach of any alien sensor, construction had been ongoing since the day Elena Rodriguez died. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the most classified facility in human history, watching the final phases of Project Nightfall. At 58, the Admiral had spent his entire career preparing for wars that never came. Now, finally, his preparations would be tested. Admiral, the last ghost ship is completing final systems checks, reported Commander Alex Rivera, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash. At 34, Rivera had been selected to lead the Ghost Fleet. 12 vessels, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. All ships report ready for operational deployment. Morrison nodded, his weathered face showing the strain of 18 months of intensive preparation. The Ghost ships were humanity's answer to the hegemony's betrayal. Each vessel was equipped with stealth technology that made them invisible to every known sensor type in galactic use. Their hulls were composed of metamaterials that absorbed electromagnetic radiation, their engines produced no detectable emissions, and their weapon systems were designed for surgical precision. Dr. Lisa Wong approached from the engineering section, her tablet displaying the final technical specifications. As director of Project Nightfall, she had overseen the development of humanity's most advanced military technology. The 41-year-old physicist had spent her career working on theoretical applications of quantum mechanics. The massacre at Harmony Prime had given her theories a deadly practical purpose. Admiral, I've completed the final analysis of hegemony military capabilities, Dr. Wong reported. Our intelligence networks have mapped every major installation, every fleet position, and every strategic asset. The Ghost Fleet can neutralize their entire military infrastructure within 72 hours. Morrison studied the tactical displays showing hegemony positions throughout their territory. 5 star systems, hundreds of military installations, thousands of ships. The hegemony had built their power through 3 centuries of careful expansion and technological advancement. Humanity was about to prove that sometimes evolution moved faster than tradition. Commander Rivera, status of the Special Operations Teams. Rivera pulled up deployment charts on her display. All 30 infiltration teams are in position on hegemony worlds. They've been gathering intelligence and preparing for simultaneous operations. The teams include linguists, engineers, and tactical specialists. When Operation Silent Thunder begins, they'll disable planetary defense networks and broadcast the evidence of Harmony Prime to local populations. The evidence. Morrison looked at the sealed data container that held the complete records of the Harmony Prime massacre. Surveillance footage from the colony's final hours, communication logs showing the hegemony's planning, and most damning of all, recordings of hegemony leaders celebrating the successful extermination of the human colony. Earth had been patient, methodical, and thorough in building its case against the hegemony. Dr. Wong, are the quantum communication networks ready? All human colonies that survived the initial hegemony expansion have been equipped with quantum communication arrays, Wong confirmed. The moment we begin operations, every human settlement will be coordinated. The hegemony won't be able to target isolated colonies this time. Morrison allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The hegemony had made a crucial error in their assessment of humanity. They had seen Earth's peaceful nature and assumed it meant weakness. They had witnessed humanity's generous cooperation and concluded it was deception. They had never considered that a species capable of such compassion might also be capable of extraordinary determination when that compassion was rejected. The command center's primary display activated, showing President Maria Santos broadcasting from Earth. At 55, Santos had been elected on a platform of peaceful expansion and diplomatic engagement. The Harmony Prime massacre had transformed her from an advocate of cooperation into a leader preparing for war. Citizens of Earth and all human colonies, President Santos began, her voice carrying the weight of 18 months of grief and preparation. Today marks the anniversary of the Harmony Prime massacre. 400,000 innocent humans died because they offered friendship to those who saw kindness as weakness. Morrison watched as Santos continued her address, knowing that this broadcast was being monitored by every intelligence service in the galaxy. Earth was breaking its silence, and the cosmos was listening. For 18 months, we had been silent. The galaxy assumed we were mourning or afraid. They were partially correct. We were mourning. But we were not afraid. We were preparing. The president's image was replaced by recordings from Harmony Prime. Children playing in gardens, scientists sharing their research, farmers tending crops that would feed multiple worlds. Then came the footage of the orbital bombardment, the screams, the burning colony, and finally Elena Rodriguez's last message. Ambassador Rodriguez told Earth to try our way instead of yours. Santos continued as her image returned. Today, we honor her final request. The broadcast ended, and the command center fell silent. Every person present knew They were about to change galactic history. Humanity had tried peace and been answered with genocide. Now they would speak in a language the hegemony would understand. Admiral, Commander Rivera said, quietly, "We have confirmation that hegemony leadership is meeting in emergency session on their capital world of Vorthike Prime. They're likely planning expanded operations against remaining human colonies." Morrison smiled grimly. The hegemony's arrogance would be their downfall. They had gathered their leadership in one location, concentrating their command structure at the worst possible moment. "Commander, signal all ghost ships. Operation Silent Thunder is authorized. You have 72 hours to neutralize all hegemony military capabilities. Rules of engagement are precise. No civilian casualties, no unnecessary destruction, but complete elimination of their ability to wage war." Rivera saluted and moved to her command station. Around the facility, humanity's most advanced warships began their silent approach toward hegemony space. Their crews were volunteers, veterans of peacekeeping operations who had watched 20 years of diplomatic progress burned away in a single night of betrayal. The first target was the hegemony's primary fleet base at Kazal Station, a massive installation that served as the central hub for their military operations. The ghost ship Silent Vengeance approached the station undetected, its stealth systems rendering it invisible to the most sophisticated sensors the hegemony possessed. Captain Jennifer Walsh, commander of Silent Vengeance, had lost her sister in the Harmony Prime massacre. Dr. and Walsh had been one of the agricultural researchers working to develop food sources for alien populations. She had believed, like so many humans, that generosity would be reciprocated with friendship. "All stations, this is Captain Walsh," she announced to her crew. "Remember our mission parameters. We disable their military capabilities, not their people. We are not becoming what they are." The ghost ship's weapons systems locked onto the station's defense platforms, shield generators, and communication arrays. The attack lasted exactly 14 minutes. Every military installation was destroyed with surgical precision, but the residential sections and civilian facilities remained untouched. The 15,000 hegemony military personnel on the station found themselves stranded but alive, their weapons gone but their lives spared. Similar operations were being conducted simultaneously across hegemony space. Ghost ships appeared without warning, eliminated military targets with impossible accuracy, and vanished before any response could be organized. The hegemony's vast military machine was being dismantled piece by piece with the precision of a surgical operation that on Vorthake Prime. The hegemony leadership watched in growing panic as their military strength evaporated. High Chancellor Vextar, who had ordered the Harmony Prime massacre, found himself staring at tactical displays that showed his fleet positions going dark one by one. "How are they doing this?" demanded General Thakmore of the Braxton forces. "Our sensors show nothing. Our defensive systems are useless against invisible enemies. The humans were supposed to be contained," added Chancellor Yilesta of the Zalani. "Our intelligence indicated they lacked advanced military technology." Vextar studied the reports flowing in from across hegemony space. Every major military installation was either destroyed or disabled. Entire fleets had lost their weapons and shields, but remained otherwise intact. The humans were sending a clear message. They could destroy everything but chose restraint. "They're not trying to conquer us." Vextar realized with growing horror. "They're demonstrating their capability while minimizing casualties. This is a lesson, not a war." The final phase of Operation Silent Thunder began as human infiltration teams activated on hegemony worlds. The evidence of Harmony Prime's destruction was broadcast simultaneously on every communication network. Alien populations saw the truth of what their leaders had done, the massacre of innocents, the celebration of genocide, the betrayal of trust. Riots broke out on 12 hegemony worlds as civilian populations turned against their military leaders. The careful political structure that had held the hegemony together for 3 centuries began to crumble as member species questioned their alliance with those who had ordered such brutality. In exactly 71 hours and 38 minutes, the hegemony's military power was completely neutralized. Not destroyed, disabled. Every ship, every station, every defensive installation had been rendered harmless while minimizing loss of life. It was a demonstration of power so precise and overwhelming that it left no doubt about humanity's capabilities. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the dominant power in this region of space was reduced to helplessness by a species they had dismissed as weak and primitive. Earth had spoken its answer to the Harmony Prime massacre, and that answer was delivered with a precision that terrified and amazed in equal measure. Admiral Morrison stood in the command center, watching the final reports come in. The Ghost Fleet had performed beyond even his optimistic projections. Humanity had proven it could be as effective at war as it had been generous in peace. Admiral, Commander Rivera reported, the hegemony leadership is requesting immediate ceasefire negotiations. They're offering full reparations and territorial concessions. Morrison looked at the communication request from High Chancellor Vextar, the being who had ordered Elena Rodriguez's death, along with 400,000 other humans, the same leader who had celebrated the final solution to the human problem. "Patch me through to the hegemony leadership," Morrison ordered. When the communication link was established, Vextar's image appeared on the main screen. The proud Vorthak leader now looked desperate, his aggressive posture replaced by the careful deference of the defeated. "Admiral Morrison," Vextar began, "the Hegemony Council seeks immediate negotiations to end this conflict. We are prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for cessation of hostilities." Morrison studied the alien leader, who had ordered genocide and then expected diplomacy when the consequences arrived. "High Chancellor, you seem to be under a misunderstanding. This was not a conflict. This was an answer." The communication ended, leaving Vextar staring at a blank screen while Morrison turned to address his staff. "Earth's silence is over," he announced. "Phase 3 begins now." The answer Earth gave President Maria Santos stood before the United Earth Assembly, her voice carrying across continents and reaching every human colony scattered among the stars. The great hall was silent, filled with representatives who had spent 18 months preparing for this moment. Behind her, the memorial wall displayed the names of every person killed at Harmony Prime, 412,347 souls who had died for the crime of offering friendship to those who saw kindness as weakness. Citizens of Earth and all human worlds, President Santos began, her words broadcast to every corner of human space. "The hegemony has requested negotiations. They offer reparations, territorial concessions, and formal apologies. They ask us to return to the diplomatic table and resume the peaceful relations that existed before Harmony Prime." A murmur ran through the assembly as representatives absorbed the implications. After demonstrating overwhelming military superiority, Earth could dictate terms to the hegemony. Peace could be restored, territories could be regained, and humanity could resume its expansion among the stars. "I am here to tell you Earth's answer to their request," Santos continued, her voice growing stronger. "No." Admiral Morrison watched the president's address from the command center of Project Nightfall. Around him, the staff who had spent 18 months preparing for this moment listened as their leader explained why victory was not enough. The hegemony destroyed Harmony Prime not in war, not in self-defense, but in cold calculation, Santos explained. They murdered 412,347 innocent humans because they feared our success, our generosity, our ability to inspire cooperation between species. They called it the final solution to the human problem. The president gestured to the memorial wall behind her. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez's final message asked Earth to try our way instead of theirs. "We have, in 72 hours, we dismantled their entire military infrastructure while causing minimal casualties. We proved that precision can be more powerful than brutality, that restraint can be more terrifying than destruction." Santos paused, allowing her words to sink in before continuing. But precision and restraint were not the answer Elena was asking for. She was asking for justice. On Vorthak Prime, High Chancellor Vextar watched the Earth broadcast with growing unease. The human president's tone suggested that the hegemony's offer of negotiations had been rejected, but surely no species would refuse such advantageous terms. The humans had won. They could claim territory, resources, and political dominance throughout the region. What more could they want? The hegemony leadership has gathered on their capital world, Santos continued, believing they can negotiate their way out of the consequences of genocide. They offer us everything except the one thing we require, justice for the dead. Commander Rivera, monitoring communications from her position aboard the ghost ship Silent Vengeance, detected massive energy signatures building throughout human space. She had been expecting this moment since Operation Silent Thunder concluded. The Ghost Fleet had been the demonstration. What came next would be the lesson. Today, we begin Phase 3 of our response to the Harmony Prime Massacre, Santos announced. The hegemony will face trial for crimes against sentient beings. Every leader who participated in planning or authorizing the genocide will be arrested and tried before a galactic tribunal. Every species in this region will witness justice being served. Santos stepped closer to the camera, her eyes reflecting the steel determination that had carried humanity to the stars. The galaxy will learn that mercy rejected becomes justice demanded. The hegemony chose to see our compassion as weakness, our cooperation as deception, our peace as surrender. They will discover their error. Vextar stared at his communication screen in disbelief. The humans were demanding individual accountability for Harmony Prime. They wanted to arrest hegemony leadership and put them on trial like common criminals. The arrogance was staggering and terrifying. General Thakmor, Vextar ordered, activate all remaining defensive systems around the capital world. If the humans want war, they will have it. But General Thakmor shook his massive head, his expression grim. Chancellor, we have no defensive systems. The human ghost ships destroyed or disabled every military asset in our territory. Our fleets are defenseless, our stations are powerless, and our planetary defenses are offline. The reality of their situation finally penetrated Vextar's arrogance. The hegemony, masters of this region for 3 centuries, had been reduced to helplessness in less than 3 days. And the humans who had demonstrated such overwhelming superiority were not interested in conquest or submission. They wanted justice. Admiral Morrison activated the quantum communication array and addressed the Ghost Fleet commanders positioned throughout hegemony space. All units, Phase 3 is authorized. Begin operation scales of justice. Remember, we are not conquerors. We are the consequences they earned. The ghost ships moved simultaneously toward every hegemony capital world. But they were not alone. Following behind each stealth vessel came something the galaxy had never seen before. Massive carrier ships emerging from quantum fold space, their hulls blazing with the insignia of the United Earth Tribunal Doctor. Lisa Wong had spent the final months of Project Nightfall developing more than weapons. Working with Earth's legal scholars, she had created mobile courtroom facilities capable of processing war crimes trials according to galactic law. Each tribunal ship carried judges, prosecutors, defense attorneys, and all the evidence needed to prove hegemony guilt beyond doubt. On Vorthake Prime, the first ghost ship materialized directly above the capital city. Silent Vengeance hung motionless in the sky, its stealth systems disabled to ensure maximum visibility. Citizens throughout the city stared upward at the impossible sight, a human warship that had appeared without warning in the heart of their most secure system. Captain Walsh opened communication channels to every receiver on the planet. Citizens of Vorthake Prime, this is Captain Jennifer Walsh of the United Earth Fleet. We are here to arrest High Chancellor Vextar and the Hegemony Council for crimes against sentient beings. Surrender the war criminals, and no harm will come to your world. Vextar's rage overcame his fear as he realized the humans intended to humiliate him before his own people. I am the High Chancellor of the Hegemony. I do not surrender to inferior species. His defiance lasted exactly as long as it took for the tribunal ship Justice for Elena to emerge from quantum-fold space above the capital. The massive vessel dwarfed every building in the city, its hull displaying holographic images of the Harmony Prime massacre alongside the legal charges being brought against hegemony leadership. Captain Walsh's voice returned, calm and implacable. High Chancellor Vextar, you are charged with genocide, crimes against sentient beings, and violation of the Galactic Peace Accords. You will surrender yourself for trial, or we will take you. Similar scenes played out across every hegemony capital world. Ghost ships appeared over cities while tribunal vessels displayed evidence of atrocities to populations who had been told their leaders were protecting galactic stability. The truth of Harmony Prime spread across alien societies like wildfire, sparking outrage and demands for accountability. On the Zalani homeworld, Chancellor Yilesta watched in horror as his own people surrounded the government complex, demanding he surrender to human justice. The revelation that he had participated in genocide had turned his population against him overnight. The Braxton General Throckmore barricaded himself in his military headquarters, but found his own soldiers unwilling to fight for a leader who had ordered the murder of innocents. One by one, his officers laid down their weapons and walked away. Dr. Wong monitored the proceedings from the command center, ensuring that every arrest was conducted according to proper legal procedures. Earth's lawyers had spent months preparing for this moment, creating legal frameworks that even the hegemony's allies would recognize as legitimate. Admiral, she reported, 17 of the 23 primary war criminals have surrendered voluntarily. The remaining 6 are attempting to flee their home worlds. Morrison nodded grimly. Commander Rivera, deploy interdiction teams. No one who planned Harmony Prime leaves this region of space. The final arrests were completed within 18 hours. Every hegemony leader who had participated in the genocide decision was in human custody, transported to the tribunal ships where they would face justice before the watching galaxy. But Earth's response went beyond arrests. As the trials began, every alien civilization received the complete evidence of Harmony Prime. Not just the massacre itself, but the planning documents, the celebratory communications, and the casual dismissal of human life as irrelevant to galactic stability. The trials were broadcast live across every communication network in known space. Alien populations watched as their leaders' casual cruelty was exposed in detail. They heard High Chancellor Vextar describe human children as future threats to be eliminated. They saw evidence of hegemony plans to sterilize 12 more human colonies after Harmony Prime. Most shocking of all, they learned about Elena Rodriguez's final diplomatic mission. The peace talks had been a deception from the beginning, a way to gather human leadership in one location for maximum psychological impact. When the genocide began, the verdicts were unanimous. Every hegemony leader was found guilty of crimes against sentient beings. But Earth's justice proved as measured as its warfare had been. Instead of execution, the war criminals were sentenced to spend the remainder of their lives rebuilding what they had destroyed. They would work alongside human survivors to construct a new colony on the ruins of Harmony Prime. They would tend the memorial gardens where their victims were honored. They would face every day with the reality of what their choices had cost. President Santos addressed the galaxy one final time as the trials concluded. Justice has been served, but Earth's message extends beyond punishment. We offered friendship and received genocide. We demonstrated restraint and saw it mistaken for weakness. We showed mercy and watched it be interpreted as cowardice. She paused, looking directly into the camera. Let this be understood throughout the stars. Humanity will always prefer peace to war, cooperation to conquest, diplomacy to domination. But when peace is answered with genocide, when cooperation is met with betrayal, when diplomacy is rejected in favor of murder, we become something else entirely. The memorial wall behind her displayed not just the names of Harmony Prime's dead, but a new inscription that would be remembered across the galaxy. They called us soft, but forgot we are the species that survived ice ages, nuclear weapons, and our own worst impulses. They mistook our choice to be gentle for an inability to be otherwise. When mercy dies, memory is born, and memory never forgets. Admiral Morrison stood beside the president as she concluded Earth's final message to the galaxy. Humanity returns to its policy of peaceful expansion and cooperation. Our hand remains extended in friendship to all species who approach us with honesty and respect. But let no one mistake our return to peace for a return to innocence. The broadcast ended, but its impact would resonate across the galaxy for centuries to come. The hegemony's member species dissolved their alliance, each choosing to pursue independent relationships with Earth based on mutual respect rather than domination. The power vacuum left by the hegemony's collapse was filled not by conquest, but by cooperation that on the reconstructed world of New Harmony, built on the site of the original colony, a massive memorial stood at the center of the settlement. The names of the 412,347 victims were etched in quantum crystal that would last until the stars themselves died. Below the names, Elena Rodriguez's final words were preserved in every known language. Earth, we tried your way. Now try ours. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see the memorial and learn about the cost of mistaking compassion for weakness. They learned that humanity had not become cruel or aggressive after Harmony Prime. They had simply become very, very careful about who they trusted with their kindness. The hegemony war criminals worked in the memorial gardens each day, tending flowers that bore the names of their victims. High Chancellor Vextar, once the most powerful being in this region of space, spent his mornings reading the stories of the children he had ordered killed. In the afternoons, he helped construct homes for the human families who had chosen to rebuild their lives on this scarred world. That IT was not revenge, it was education. Every day, the former hegemony leaders learned the individual cost of their casual cruelty. Every day, they faced the humanity of those they had dismissed as expendable. Commander Rivera, now promoted to Admiral and Commander of Earth's expanded fleet, often visited New Harmony. She would stand before Elena Rodriguez's memorial statue and remember the diplomat who had spent her life building bridges between species. The statue showed Elena not in her final moments of defiance, but in her preferred role, extending her hand in greeting to a group of alien children. She would have forgiven them, Rivera said during one visit, speaking to Captain Walsh, who had commanded the ghost ship that captured Vextar. Elena believed in redemption, in second chances, in the possibility that understanding could overcome hatred. Walsh nodded, looking at the former hegemony leaders working quietly in the gardens. Maybe that's why we didn't execute them. Maybe Elena's final gift wasn't just showing us how to be strong, it was showing us how to stay human even after strength was necessary. The galaxy had learned its lesson. In the years that followed, no species dared test Earth's commitment to protecting its people. But more importantly, many species discovered that humanity's original approach, cooperation, generosity, and mutual respect, offered benefits far greater than the old systems of domination and fear. The ghost ships remained hidden in deep space, their crews maintaining eternal vigilance. They were a reminder and a promise. Earth would always prefer peace, but it would never again be unprepared for war. The stealth fleet had become legend among the stars, invisible guardians who appeared only when innocence was threatened and justice was required. Dr. Lisa Wong continued her research, but her focus had shifted from weapons to exploration. Earth's technological advancement during the 18 months of preparation had yielded discoveries that benefited all sentient species. Medical treatments, agricultural innovations, and energy systems were shared freely with any civilization that approached humanity with honest intentions. The memorial on New Harmony became a pilgrimage site for species across the galaxy. They came to understand the price of betraying trust, but also to learn about forgiveness, justice, and the possibility of redemption. Children of former enemy species played together in the gardens where war criminals tended flowers, creating friendships that would shape the future of galactic civilization. Years passed, and the story of Harmony Prime became legend. Parents across 100 worlds told their children about the species that had offered peace and been answered with genocide, about the 18 months of silence that had hidden preparation for justice, and about the measured response that had changed the balance of power in the galaxy without destroying it. But the most important lesson was simpler and more profound. Never mistake kindness for weakness, never confuse mercy with helplessness, and never assume that a species capable of great compassion is incapable of great strength when that compassion is betrayed. Earth had given the galaxy its answer to the question of what happens when mercy dies. That answer was written in the ruins of the hegemony's military might, carved into the memorial walls of New Harmony, and remembered in the songs children sang as they played in gardens tended by those who had learned too late the cost of underestimating human resolve. The message was clear, echoing across the stars in every language known to sentient beings. Humanity, try peace. Don't make them try war again. And in the silence between the stars, the Ghost Fleet maintained its watch, ensuring that Elena Rodriguez's sacrifice would never be forgotten, and that the lesson of Harmony Prime would never need to be taught twice. The galaxy was safer now, not because Earth had become more dangerous, but because everyone understood that beneath humanity's gentle surface lay the strength of a species that had climbed from caves to stars through determination, cooperation, and an absolute refusal to let evil triumph over innocence. Earth had stopped asking for peace. Now, the universe came to them requesting it, and humanity, true to their nature, welcomed them with open hands and open hearts, while keeping their ghost fleet close enough to remind everyone why that trust should never again be betrayed. The story of when Earth stopped asking had become the story of how the galaxy learned to listen.